Hello there everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about a topic very near and dear to my heart, and that is Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion is my favorite game of all time. I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you on why I think it's like the greatest game ever or anything. I don't. It's just a personal pick. It's a nostalgia pick. I played that game when I was very young, and I've loved it my entire life ever since. The series as a whole, however, I'm not the craziest for. Luigi's Mansion 3 is fantastic. I won't discredit that. If you think Luigi's Mansion 3 is better than Luigi's Mansion 1, I won't even really question it. I'm like, okay, that's fair. If I played Luigi's Mansion 3 first, I would probably think the same thing. And then Dark Moon is where I have the controversial opinion, apparently. I know when the game came out, this was not a controversial opinion, but I guess as people have gotten older and people have now formed nostalgia for Dark Moon, it's become a fan favorite of the 3DS community. I don't love Dark Moon that much. I don't think it's that good of a game. It's fine. It's fine if you don't think about it as a Luigi's Mansion game, I guess. That kind of sounds like what people say about Breath of the Wild. Dark Moon's fine, I guess. I just don't really like it that much. But Luigi's Mansion 1 and Luigi's Mansion 3 are fantastic games. I mean, Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the best Switch games. I haven't replayed it since it came out, but that game's absolutely fantastic. So I absolutely love Luigi's Mansion, and recently in the June Nintendo Direct, they announced that Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, the one I don't really like that much, would be coming back to the Nintendo Switch in the form of a remaster. It's coming out in 2024, we got a very short teaser for it, and we don't really know much about it. We don't even know who's making this game. If I had to guess, it is probably Grezzo. They did the remake of Luigi's Mansion on 3DS, and then they've also been doing a lot of 3DS ports onto the Switch, or at least they did Miitopia, right? So I think Grezzo doing the Dark Moon port makes a lot of sense, but what I want to talk about today is the possibility of the first game, my beloved crown jewel, Luigi's Mansion. What if that game comes to Switch as well? I did a video about 2 months ago talking about GameCube ports I want to see on the Nintendo Switch, and of course I mentioned it in that video, but I thought this deserved its own topic because with Dark Moon coming out, and just kind of looking at, not the evidence, but just kind of looking at it logically from a business standpoint, I could actually see this happening. Maybe it's just me being a Luigi's Mansion fanboy and hoping it happens, but looking at like the reasons I've written down here, it kind of makes sense. So I wanted to get into this, talk about it with you all. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think Luigi's Mansion 1 could come to the Nintendo Switch? Let's get into my reasons. So the first thing I want to talk about is the pricing of Dark Moon, and most points here are actually going to be tied directly to that Dark Moon port. Now listen, I didn't do any sort of graphical comparison of Dark Moon on the 3DS versus the Switch. I think I saw some people saying it was actually a pretty big jump, but my gut reaction watching that trailer was like, oh, they didn't really do that much. At least compared to Luigi's Mansion 3, Dark Moon on Switch from that trailer did not look very impressive. So already I'm kind of just thinking this seems like a pretty bare bones port. It probably shouldn't cost that much. Now, standard Nintendo caveats apply. We have instances where Metroid Prime essentially remake costs $40, but then Return to Dreamland is $60, so you never fully know, but at least from what we saw, I feel like Dark Moon on Switch should not be a full $60 game. But the other reason for that is the online mode. How are they going to handle this? If you aren't aware, Dark Moon was the first Luigi's Mansion game to introduce multiplayer. It had the Scare Scraper. It was this, I think, 4-player cooperative mode where you go around this mansion, Scare Scraper, and you just suck up ghosts as a co-op mode, and it was actually pretty fun. And then they brought it back in Luigi's Mansion 3. Do they bring that back in this game? It's kind of interesting. Outside of Wii U ports, this is one of like the latest Nintendo games to get remade or ported to another console, and we're starting to get to that point where a lot of these games have online. You know, most Wii U ports that came to Switch didn't really have any online functionality. They just had a local co-op and stuff like that. Do they bring back the Scare Scraper? We already have Luigi's Mansion 3 with its fully robust online mode, so I don't know if they're going to try to add Scare Scraper back to this or cut it out entirely. My gut reaction is I don't really expect it, to be honest, but maybe. I can't really see it being that populated for very long. I mean, this is a very late life port of a 3DS game. I don't feel like servers for that would be very active, at least not for very long, so putting it in there at all kind of feels, while it'd be nice for preservation and having the full package on Switch, it kind of feels like a waste of time. I don't really foresee that many people playing that on the Switch. But this is Nintendo we're talking about, and they're going to want to prop this up as a full $50, maybe even $60 release. But if it's not that graphically impressive, and it's potentially missing features from the original version, what's a way they could prop up the price point for this game, give it that full physical release, put it out on store shelves, and make it feel like a full new game from Nintendo? Well, we actually saw Nintendo do something very similar to what I'm about to suggest just this year. In fact, it hasn't even released physically yet, and you might see where I'm going with this. Pikmin 1 and 2. They shadow dropped Pikmin 1 and 2 during the last June Direct as digital games. These are just straight GameCube ports running on an emulator, and they released them individually for $30, or you can buy them in a bundle for $50, with a physical release coming out in September. My suggestion, as a way to kind of boost up the price of Dark Moon, is include a straight emulated version of Luigi's Mansion 1. I don't think there's a chance they remake this game, at least not anytime soon, so as an effort to kind of fully flesh out the Nintendo Switch's library and increase the value proposition of Dark Moon on the Nintendo Switch, I think a great way to do that would be to include a port of Luigi's Mansion 1. Now, the package is still going to say, like, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. It's going to be like that. That's the main selling point on store shelves for people at Christmas and all that, but maybe like a little sticker on the corner that says it also includes Luigi's Mansion 1, you know? I think this would be a great way to just kind of increase the value proposition of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on the Switch, and it honestly makes a lot of sense. Nintendo has actually done a pretty great job this generation of adding their back catalog. We're seeing that a lot this year, especially with a lot of Wii games coming over, GameCube games, even some 3DS stuff already with Miitopia. And we have rumors of more to come, like F-Zero GX and people talking about Thousand Year Door and all these things. Luigi's Mansion is one of Nintendo's best-selling franchises at this point. Luigi's Mansion 3 sold, I think, like 14 million copies. It sold more than most Zelda games. So having all 3 Luigi's Mansion games on the Switch, I think, is something they probably want to do eventually. Maybe I'm getting a little too gung-ho here. Maybe they would save this, do a proper remake, remaster, and charge full price for it standalone. Although I don't really know if you can do that because Luigi's Mansion is a very short game. I mean, you can play this game if you know what you're doing and beat it in 2.5 hours, 3 hours. You know, it's a very short game. So I don't know if they could charge full price for it by itself, but as a little bundle add-on bonus to Dark Moon, frankly, I think this is our best bet, honestly, at getting this game released, unless they just randomly decide to do it after Dark Moon comes out on its own as a shadow drop on the eShop. Though, as a physical collector, that would make me upset, because then it probably want to get a physical, and if they do it this way, maybe it'll actually be included in this little 2-pack I'm theorizing for Dark Moon. I just think Nintendo's been very focused on bringing back its back catalog the past couple of years, and this would be a great way to just prop up Dark Moon is actually a pretty good value. If it's $60, $50, whatever it is, it's a pretty good value if you get 2 games, right? And also padding out that final year of the Nintendo Switch, assuming 2024 is the final full year of it existing, right? Because I think most people at this point are expecting late 2024. I'm still in Team 2025, early 2025, mind you, for the next console. But I just think that with Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon maybe not being worth $60 on its own, with the Switch being in its final year, with them doing so many GameCube ports, with Luigi's Mansion 3 being one of the best-selling Switch games, there's actually a lot of incentive to bring this first game back onto the Nintendo Switch for a whole new audience. I mean, I don't think many people played that 3DS port, right? So there's a whole generation of kids that never got to play the original Luigi's Mansion. So that's what I hope happens. I hope my points made sense in this video. I hope you agree with me, and I hope we end up seeing this happen. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think I could be right here? Do you think we might end up seeing Luigi's Mansion 1 come out on the Nintendo Switch alongside Dark Moon? And I want to clarify one last time here. I'm not talking about a remake. I'm not talking about any up-res, any of that. I'm talking about literally what they did with Pikmin 1 and 2. Just put them on the Switch. You don't have to do anything. Just emulate them. I think that's very possible. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo content like this each and every day, just about. And until next time, folks, peace.